You're listening to Flywheel Factory with Mike Lynch and Steve Warren. Most small business owners don't have a motivation problem, they have a momentum problem. You're working hard, but it feels like you're starting from scratch every week. We're here to help you build systems that actually work so you can grow without burning out. Let's get into it.
Well, I think very much like what we've learned over the years with SEO, we just need to continue writing good quality posts that are part of clusters that actually make sense. And as opposed to just one off throwing spaghetti at the wall type of thing. And thinking about one of the things that we're doing inside of Flywheel, we're utilizing our growth, our our flywheel growth analyst agent in order to help content creators figure out exactly where that content's coming from. And with that information, they're able to go focus on what's winning currently, as well as where they should start to build out their next 4, 8, 12 weeks of content and continue to iterate that based on what's working.
So could you talk a little bit about the Flywheel content analyst? How does that work? What does it do with the 30,000 foot view of it?
Yeah. So the content analyst takes your traffic data over a period of time, whether that's 7 days or 6 months. You're taking your Google Analytics, you're taking your affiliate revenue, email subscriptions, and you're also looking at your sitemap and you're pulling that into our agent, and the agent is doing some analysis to help figure out what your North Star metrics really look like.
That's awesome. So, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, Steve, you worked with a lot of bloggers over the course of many years. Where is it that people get bogged down in looking at traffic?
Yeah, I think that's it. We can spend hours and hours just sorting through Google Analytics or Google Search Console, and we're constantly chasing this one or two things, and oftentimes we're looking at the error messages on Google Search Console, and most of those times they mean nothing. Sometimes they're just like this um, you know page has been de-indexed, and it's an RSS feed page that's not indexed, which you didn't want indexed anyway, or it's a it's an image alt text that was e-indexed. It's not a big deal. So we're constantly chasing down all of these numbers, and it's just so difficult to figure out what is important, what's not important, and you wind up spending hours and hours doing this research with no actual tangible results of what does this mean, what's working and what's not working.
Yeah, I know that, I've spent a lot of time just trying to analyze those pieces of data. And as an accountant by trade, I kind of like looking at the numbers. And I would say there's probably two reasons I do that. One is I'm curious, like where the traffic is coming from, like where the bounce rate is coming from. But the other one, and I hate to admit this, is it's a distraction from like what I should be doing. And part of the reason I'm doing that is because there's so many daggone things as a blogger that I have to try to go do. Right. And it frankly, it's just overwhelming. So it's like, I need to go research a post, or I need to research a topic, come up with keywords, come up with the secondary keywords, assess can I even rank for this item, and that's all before I even start. Then I may need to do a bit of research just to make sure I have all my facts in order. Next, I'm going to spend hours putting together a post, pictures, alt text, yada, 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 right? And at the end of the day, if I rewind all the way back, all I really wanted to do was put together some posts, reach somebody, have some affiliate dollars and or XY, and maybe run some ads on my site and make some money to help offset my travel costs. I didn't really want to figure out how to like build an entire website or all of the back end features of this thing. Yeah, I'm not banging code, but on the other hand, not only do I have to do all those things, but then once it's actually ready to publish, now I gotta go market this thing on Facebook, Pinterest, TikTok, YouTube, right? I mean, it's like people on TikTok are tired of seeing me dance.
Yeah, exactly. And realistically, like you say, if you're going over your analytics constantly and just kind of tweaking these things, like you said, it's a distraction, and oftentimes we use it if we're really being honest with ourselves, we're using it as a way to procrastinate doing what we really need to be doing. And if you're procrastinating on something, it's psychologically, it's telling you something. It's telling you that your mind is trying to avoid something that's very difficult, and writing a blog post is not just as simple as just going in and just speaking like you would to a friend. Because as soon as you start, it has to be written, of course, in your voice and your expertise. And so you're trying to write this down in a way that you don't normally speak. You write it down in some organized function or fashion. You try to follow some sort of template. And by the time that you even just get it to WordPress, you spent most of a day on it. But then you know that your work still isn't done. You know all those other things you have to follow up to. So anytime that I'm procrastinating, I know that it's an avoidance mechanism. And if you can kind of take a time out, step back and say, okay, why am I trying to avoid this? And invariably it's because I'm about to do something that's overwhelming. About to take on something that's going to demand my time that I may or may not actually have time to finish. And so then I wind up with these blog posts that are in draft, and I never follow up with my lead magnet. I don't follow up with my newsletter or anything else because it became more than I can handle or more than I can do in the short amount of time that I actually had dedicated to writing my blog posts.
Yeah. So what are you procrastinate?
And I haven't. My blog has been neglected probably for the past year and a half to 2 years. It's really just something that I know that I don't have the time to finish even one blog post, and so much of that is just because of the choices that I make each day. But I mean, working a full time job, I have family obligations, working side part time work,
Yeah, yeah.
in order to continue those things, and of course, starting a small business, it takes a lot. There's a lot that goes into the back end of things. So what's really fallen by the wayside is just writing blog posts. But even for a flywheel factory, it's we have all of these things that we need to do to get out the door, and it's difficult to sort through what's the most critical path of things to do today. So
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned.
writing more GPTs, that's something that I need to get to. um, that's going to help us with our own workflow.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because the, the amount of items whenever you're starting anything new, whether it's flywheel, whether it's a blog post, whether it's, a business that sells something, right? There are it's a never-ending to-do list, right? Naturally, we gravitate towards the things that we're kinda most comfortable with, right? And maybe even the things that may not have any level of real rejection attached to them. And one of the things that I'm working on right now, I've been on this, I don't know, call it podcast barnstorming tour, working to get, out and onto some posts or some podcast. And we've had a little bit of success. And, of course, with all outreach, it's a numbers game and you have to outreach to a ton of folks. And so I have created an agent who is almost militant in keeping me on track here because what I find is I have shiny objects that I love to chase. And part of it's because I hear a podcast on a Monday and I think, wow, that's pretty interesting. And by the time I finish it on Tuesday or Wednesday, like I want to go start a directory site now. Well, it's probably not the best use of my time. Or I want to start, I don't know, something, some drop shipping business or whatever. Right. And so now my agent is telling me, hey, this is a shiny object. Like, stop. Is it helping you achieve X? Like you have 10 more of these that you need to get done. Let's go do them. And, I'm finding that to be really helpful. And, I'm curious if we're hearing what we're hearing kind of inside the flywheel community from folks.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and it kind of leads to our biggest subject, and that's burnout. Why don't we talk about that in our next episode?
Absolutely.
All right, see you, Mike.
Adios.
That's it for today. We'll pick this conversation back up in the next episode. Want to stop spinning your wheels and start building real momentum? Head to flywheelfactory.io. We'll show you how. And if this episode helped, do us a favor. Share it with another business owner who needs to hear it and leave us a review. It helps us reach more small businesses like yours. Thanks for listening. See you next time.